Hey, welcome back to the Marketing Perspective. I'm James Stanella, CEO and owner of Media Vision Advertising, but we're not talking about Media Vision today. Today, we're talking about tourism. Tourism is a huge topic. And why tourism? Because it does indirectly affect marketing. And it's interesting. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Tourism greatly positively can affect an economy and its infrastructure and its communities, community by community. It is a wonderful thing when it's done well. Local government and tourism coming together, and the concept of how the monies come through to help tourism along, and how that money gets utilized for the greater good, goes back into the communities. It's a really economically speaking, it's a cycle, and it's interesting watching it happen. I only know a little bit about it, but I'm bringing on somebody today who knows a lot more about it. And I'm bringing on Jason Johnson, who is the CVB Tourism Director at Wilson County, Tennessee. For full disclosure, we serve Wilson County. My business is in Wilson County. I live in Wilson County in Tennessee. So in case you're listening from around the country and you want to put a hit out on me, this is where I live. Jason is very good at his job, and I'm excited to have him on today because he's going to shed some light and relevance of what tourism really does in our backyard. I've seen it in other markets, and I've seen tourism succeed. My background, some of you know my past, good and bad. I used to produce the I Love New York campaign for a while in New York, obviously, and the New York State Lottery in New York, obviously. Great campaigns. And believe it or not, the lottery commercials also bring in tourism and revenue. How, James? Well, a lot of times, sometimes somebody on the other side of the border of the state or county or whatever will cross over into the other area just to get tickets in that area. And when they're there, usually there's commerce occurring and they're utilizing local vendors and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting how money goes back and forth, but tourism is a very big part of that. And the last thing I want to say before I bring Jason out, when you think about, so Tennessee is known for not having state tax, right? State tax? Not having state tax, correct. Okay. I'm going to say that again. Kinsey, is that okay to pick it up from there? So one last thing before we bring out Jason. Tennessee is known for not having a state tax. So one of the things that I noticed when I first moved here 5 years ago, so my property tax is really low, by the way. Like, I gave myself a raise when I left the state of New York and came to the great state of Tennessee. A big raise, by the way. The taxes are very different. So they try not to increase property taxes. But what the mayor of this county did at the time is he increased sales tax on goods and services. And I said, well, that's higher than even in New York. And for a split second, I was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? But when you think about it, he was dividing how that money was coming in. It wasn't the burden of the individual homeowner. It was on everyone that was doing commerce in the county, which I thought was really smart. So tourism is important because it brings other people outside of the area into the area, and their money helps pay the taxes of the county. So if you see what I'm talking about, economic impact when it comes to tourism is huge. And that's just on a small scale. I'm sure Jason's going to shed a little bit more light on that because he's really good with facts and figures and stuff. But let's dive right in. And I'm excited for this one. So let me bring out my friend Jason Johnson of Wilson County, Tennessee. And it's Wilco. I struggle with that because I want to call it Wilson County Tourism, but it's Wilco, correct?
Either one's fine. Like I say, Wilco, we use Wilco as our little, as our little tagline type situation. But
the brand guy gets really stressed.
I understand.
And it's always been that way for me since I've been here. So welcome to the show, Jason. Thank you very much for being on today.
Man, I don't even know where to dive in. I know first of all, saying that I know a lot about tourism and marketing. I've been in it several years, I will agree, but man, a lot every day and every new thing that comes out, it's just, it's something new to learn. We're finding out some great ways to go about marketing. Give you a little background. I initially took this position about 3 to 4 weeks before COVID and the pandemic shut down the world of tourism and travel. So that gave me a chance to, you go into a position a lot of times that's like, well, you're doing it this way, but they did it this way, or are you sure you're doing it? Nothing was ever done like I was doing it because nothing had ever happened like we were in the middle of having this happen. So it gave us an opportunity to really think about, new ways of marketing, new ways of, coming across to our visitors, our prospective visitors, our soon to be visitors, hopefully, and kind of market in that way. So that gave me a really good insight right out of the gate in my job, as stressful as it was, for sure.
Yeah, there was no playbook for COVID.
There was none.
I know I feel your pain when we first put our business here. That big F4 tornado came through, and 5 minutes later, COVID started. So, and the number one way we grow business is speaking engagements.
Kind of hurt that a little bit, for sure. Yeah.
I'm scratching my head a little. So you're right. There was no playbook. I empathize with that, but I think it probably really let you cut your teeth a little bit. So you didn't have to, knowing what I know about how business as usual goes, you didn't have to fall into the trap of doing what we've always done, and you got to do it differently.
Exactly.
For better or worse.
A lot of it, I think, was for better. I mean, I think we were Wilson County as a whole. We're right east of Nashville. Our main tagline for the tourism department is near Nashville, miles from ordinary. So we're not kind of blind to the fact that we do get overflow Nashville and a lot from that. So, we were on the cusp of basically taking that next step into the level of tourism, of getting that next step of lodging tax from overnight stays and visitor spending and everything. So that kind of gave us a fresh start to look at these things. Let's jump up to this next level. Once we can get into it, let's get up to it.
Well, you already paved the way for how you got into tourism, how you got here. Let's just talk about for a second the purpose of tourism, how businesses thrive when tourism is successful.
You touched on when you're talking about marketing. Basically for us, I mean, we've got, to me, in my mind, and the way I've talked to the people, there's 2 or 3 like main facets you can say of tourism, and it kind of depends on which one you're attacking at any given time. First and foremost, there's the marketing. That's the obvious one, is your marketing. I am marketing Wilson County. Just like, and you understand this more than I do, tenfold probably. Marketing is getting consumers to buy into your goods and services. Well, I'm just getting visitors to buy into my attractions, dining, shopping, lodging. Same situation. How can I do that? How can I go about attracting those folks to be here? And then there's the other part of tourism that, with it is the casual visitor and things like that, but there's also the side that we're doing a lot of helping with event planning and things like that. I work closely with the Nashville Super Speedway. I work closely with the Farm Bureau Expo Center. And in that aspect, I guess you could almost call it like a concierge type situation. Gail Hellam, who's the director out the Expo Center, and the Matt at the Nashville Super Speedway, they might have an event looking. Well, then I'm usually that next step or that next contact. If they're looking to come here, well, here's Jason. He's going to tell you where you can stay, what your attendees can do while they're here, and other reasons to get them to come here.
Right. Yeah. So Gail's been on the show before, so listeners have gotten to hear Gail and talk about event planning. So if you've been listening, you follow the show. Gail and Jason do work really well off each other because it's within the same county. And that let's I'm going to go off book on my plan here. Let's talk about that for a second. Like your partner relationships. Obviously, that is a good partner relationship. She runs an event facility. You're driving tourism. It's a natural fit. What other natural partners do you have when it comes to being tourism director?
Well, like I say, obviously the main ones are the Nashville Super Speedway and the Expo Center. Obviously the Ag Center, the James E. Ward Ag Center, which is out there, which is part of the Expo and the whole, Wilson County Fairground kind of compound, more or less. Events there as well. But there's also the smaller things. I work well with the downtown Lebanon merchants, historic Lebanon downtown, historic Watertown. We do events helping them out with jazz fests and things like that. State Park, Cedars of Lebanon State Park, fantastic state park. They see over, 3 million visitors yearly. So we work with them on helping. And the good thing about helping with like the state park or Old Hickory Lake and the stuff, there's also from the state level, the Tennessee Department of Tourism Development, there's state level programs that we can kind of piggyback off of and kind of get a little more bang for our buck on helping marketing those and sharing of assets and things for that. But like I say, it's across the board. I mean, even down to, like I say, the merchants and, different, craft breweries around and everything. And then obviously the hotels, that kind of goes without saying.
Well, no, I think it can't go for the purposes of our listeners. It's got it. We have to talk about it, and we'll go there in a second. I think that's a big conversation. I want to back up, just close the circle on purpose of tourism. Some of the obvious answers, if you look it up on Google, it does boost revenue. Without a doubt, it can create jobs. It's something that is something that's important as far as the economic structure of any county or even a state. And the one that I want to park on a little bit is that it can create cultural exchange, meaning so people from out of the area can relate to the culture in the area and vice versa. So can you speak into that a little bit?
Sure. And like you said, I read a statement one time that said the first date of the marriage of economic development is a visit, and that visit is tourism. So there's that, that kind of brings the tourists and the visitors in. But, we have things, Pickett's Chapel, the Wilson County Black History Committee and things like that bring stuff in. We have the Wilson County, the Wilco Powwow, a Native American Heritage Festival. So as far as heritage like that, the obvious ones, sure. But just in general, which to me is fantastic, is people getting to visit somewhere and understanding how other people, how the makeup and how they are. We can set back and not to get necessarily political or on a soapbox. We can set back and say, oh, we don't want anybody from Illinois, or we don't want anybody blah, 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 and all these other states and all these other things. And why are they coming here? But if they come here to visit and understand what is making Tennessee great right now, what is making Tennessee a top 10 visitor spending state and a top 7, moved to state in the country, what is about this state that is so great? It kind of opens up some eyes, and vice versa. You can sit and throw stones at somebody from 5 states away saying you don't want them, but when they come here, I've got some great friends in my own neighborhood right here in Gladeville, Wilson County, that are from California, and you know what? They're great people. I love them to death. So it kind of breaks down a lot of the stereotypes, I guess you could say, and kind of shares life together.
I know moving here from the East Coast, being a former Yankee, I had to jump a couple of hurdles, but I chose to be here and put my family here because I like it the way it is. I don't want to change it. I did not like it the way it was where I came from, which is why I moved, but there are people that want to change, and that's where conflict happens. And I hear what you're saying. I just like the cultural differences. I like seeing, like my first take when I first got here, I spoke at an event in Mount Juliet, and I said, well, hi, so nice to be in Mount Juliet. Man, I thought I was going to get shot. It was, yeah. And somebody in the back is saying, Juliet. What are you saying?
Juliet. And don't you dare say Lebanon. It's Lebanon.
You say Lebanon, right? Because goodness gracious. So I actually made the joke about, well, I don't know, when y'all were in high school, didn't you hear, you read Romeo and Juliet? Nobody laughed. So I said, okay, note to self.
Moving on.
Learn the language. I felt like I was in a foreign country for a second, and it was fine. So I know people that come, and I find myself doing it now. So I have people that are new in the area, like business people that, hey, I'm just here. And they start saying Juliet and Lebanon. I said, Lebanon.
Stop,
And
stop.
I'm saying words, and you're like, why are you saying it that way? I said, because if you don't, they're going to shoot you. Just they're not. For those, if you're listening out of state, they're not. It's a really nice, pleasant place. People are very kind, but they are pretty serious about how you say their town here, just for the record. Okay, so moving on. When you talk about come out of town as coming in, I want to address destination marketing. So when people are like, for example, I Love New York campaign, like I was talking about before, it is a destination. So those kind of campaigns would focus on certain highlights. From a tourism standpoint, like the hiking, like one of the campaigns we had done back in the day, instead of everybody thinks New York, they think New York City, big lights, big city, theater, all that kind of stuff, murder, things like, sorry, New York State. But the Hudson Valley is a whole nother world. Hudson Valley is kind of like here, and it's actually probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Mountains, rolling hills, amazing hiking and hunting and fishing, and beautiful waterfalls. So it was like a whole nother life, and it's just an hour outside of the city. So we parked one of the commercials we had done. We parked on that as a destination, And the last thing I'll say, because then I'm going to throw it back at you and ask you a very hard question. I remembered in part of the Hudson Valley, like we had West Point, we had Woodbury Commons, which is probably the largest. I might misspeak here, but the largest outlet in the world, or the most shopped outlet in the world. They have some thing that is like they're like the best at, and it's gigantic, and it really is. You save a ton of money on big brands. If you haven't gone, if you happen to be there, highly recommend it. So you've got West Point, you've got the Woodbury Commons, and then they put Legoland, which is for little kids, 12 years and under. It's a great destination, high tourist attraction. And that triad created, and then they started putting casinos, but we're not going to talk about them just because of how I feel about what it does to an economy. But those three things were very powerful in that market, and tourism did go up and business did go up. And I know that people were thriving a lot more. And for the most part, what they'll say is they don't know why. They just attribute it to good economy, good politicians. They don't understand that tourism did that tourism brought all that in. Can you speak to that? And what things would you want to see here that aren't here yet?
Touching back on, how the tourism drove that. I was at a conference with Insight, it's a magazine, downtown Nashville. And the president of the Nashville Predators, she was speaking to the fact of the mayor that was there at the time when they started building Bridgestone Arena, and it wasn't Bridgestone at the time, but downtown Nashville. I don't know if that was before that you had moved here, and of course I've been around this area for 30 years now. So, but downtown Nashville was basically a dying city. There wasn't much to it, and what was down there was a little bit seedy and everything. And there was a conscious effort to bring visitors we need to bring something that gets the visitors down here. We need to get, the Bridgestone, which was the Gaylord at the time, that's what they called it. But we need to get something to get them down here. The visitors bring the economic change and the economic development. You can talk about revitalization for people and all that stuff. You can go down here to downtown Lebanon, to where the shops are and everything, at any given day, and I promise you will find almost as many visitors, if not more, than you will locals. And here, the sad fact is, if something comes in like that, as a visitor, you're open to it. Hey, we're going somewhere new. Let's go to someplace new. Let's try this out. As a resident, there's hesitancy. As someone, I've lived here, I'm not sure about going down there. I've lived here my whole life. I'm not sure about that. So the residents, and sometimes, unfortunately, the officials and the commissioners of those residencies and all are hesitant about things. The folks that want to come in and revitalize and change and bring the things that will bring the tourism, that's where the change really starts to happen. As far as what I would love to see around here. I mean, something like a Legoland. I think that, I think this is a prime spot. If you look at our geographic location, we're 30 minutes outside of downtown Nashville. We are just as close to Nashville International Airport is to Nashville International Airport. I mean, it's not even hard. It's outside of the city. So our location going direct east on 40, we're just sitting in a fantastic location for growth that way. If you look at the traffic patterns going out of Nashville, and we can look at different programs and stuff that show us traffic patterns east, especially because we're in between here and down the road there's Gatlinburg and the Smoky Mountains. It's a highly traveled corridor. I-40 corridor is highly traveled and less congested for the most part. So it's a fantastic spot to look at, hopefully courting some of these bigger things. I think we definitely have the space for it. I think, looking at CoStar and other programs, we're at 35 hotel properties in the county right now. And there's 10 more slated in the next couple of years. I think the growth is there for it. We're just in a fantastic spot right now for visitor spending and tourism wise. That's one of those things that every person that comes in that spends the night, you think about it this as a local, as a resident, as someone, every person that comes and stops and spends the night, that's a little bit less that you pay on property taxes. Think about it that way.
Right.
Because
that's
every head in bed and spends the night is a lodging tax. And if they spend the night, they're probably going to get gas in their car. That's a gas tax. They're going to eat somewhere. They're going to buy something. That's sales tax. All that stuff adds up, offsets your property tax.
Right. And if they go into Cracker Barrel, they're not getting out without spending some money. I don't know what it is. I love Cracker Barrel. I always have since I was a kid. And some of the things in there, you like, it's nostalgic, but gosh, I ate that candy when I was a kid. And you talk about, I'm thinking about culture, when cultures, you come from someplace else, and some places, believe it or not, folks, some places don't have a Cracker Barrel or Chick-fil-A, and I know I was so excited. There's one on every corner. It's sad, and you may, because you've been here 30 years, you may be used to it, and you're like, what are you talking about, James? But in other markets, it doesn't exist. So it's like, we want what we don't have. People with straight hair want curly hair, kind of thing. So when you go someplace else, you want to experience the culture there. So to your point, people will, even if they're just there for the weekend, they're passing through, they will spend money in a new market.
The best thing about, everyone who's coming in, we are honestly, Wilson County is one of the top growing counties in the state based on, our population. And that's, we're in meetings, James, I've seen you in meetings before about this, and it's the constant fight of, the subdivisions and developments and this and that and more schools and everything. Everything that you're hearing the complaints about, tourism, visitor spending, my department's helping to push all the positives and none of the negatives about that. We're having people come in, spend the night, eat, shop, buy some else, leave. Temporary taxpayers. They're coming in. They're increasing the population for 36 hours and then they're leaving. So we're not a strain on the roads commission because they're using the roads every day. But yet our visitors are buying gas and contributing to the gas tax. We're not a strain on emergency services or a strain on the school systems for overcrowding schools or a strain on the jails, but yet our visitors are buying things and contributing sales tax. They're spending the night, which contributes to the hotel motel tax, which a portion of that goes to the general fund to help that. So it's a win-win. To not fully embrace tourism, sometimes it just baffles my mind. It does.
I know it's. I've seen it go badly. I'm going to come out and say it. I watched casino. I mentioned casinos before, so I'm not a fan. But mostly because of the economic impact. Because when they come in with guns blazing, they will market themselves as, we're going to increase economics in this market. Businesses are going to thrive because the casino's here. Casinos become self-contained. They want everybody to stay in their world. They don't want them to go to the local shops. They want them to shop inside. They don't want them to go to the hotels in the area. They want them to stay inside. And eventually it drives the wrong element, which eventually brings down the area. Crime rate goes up, all kinds of bad stuff goes on, and economies do not thrive over a period of time. That is proven statistically. So I used to be the guy in the back of the room asking those questions, and there's always the answer, well, yeah, but ... And I'm like, that's just an excuse. And that's not true, because look at what happened. I mean, I don't want to say names, but famous casinos, even in the East, on the Northeast, we'll just say Northeast area, have negatively impacted economies. So when they bring in the new casinos, and yes, it brings in money, and yes, it brings in taxes without a doubt, but it hurts. It hurts areas because crime goes up. When crime goes up, people want to leave, and they move away from where the crime is, and then the quality of schools go down, which is a big thing. We haven't touched that yet, because I know that you and I are both in meetings, and we're saying Wilson, one of the reasons Wilson County is such a high destination point for people wanting to move here is the school systems. And the fear is, well, people like Jason, who brings in tourism, is going to hurt that, because these people are going to come, they're going to hurt our schools. And that's not the truth, because to your point, people are coming, they're spending money, they're leaving. The idea is it's boosting the economy, which helps our infrastructure. It helps our economy. It helps bring in more jobs. It's a positive impact. I mean, you must I'm preaching to the choir, I know, but you must come across this all the time. And how do you navigate that? How do you positively push back?
It's funny, because we do have, the constituents and some of my stakeholders that have been lifelong second, third, fourth, fifth generation Wilson County. So this is what it's been. This is what always is. And when you go talking about tourism, a lot of these folks, tourism, you say the word tourism, they immediately think Disney World. They immediately think Gatlinburg Strip. They immediately think, Atlantic City Boardwalk. They just immediately, there's no, their perception of tourism is such this way out here, over the top thing. You understand that, we understand, talking to some of these, again, some of the commissioners, I get that at one time, there was a field right there that you deer hunted in or something. Well, that field is now Fairfield Inn by Marriott, and they do very well, and they stay at a pretty good capacity, and they bring money to the county. So it's getting the folks to just slowly, and that's the key, I think, because in anything, counties and governments, so it's got to be a slow change. You can't, like you said, come in guns blazing, use that term guns blazing, and think to change the world. But to come in slowly and get folks to realize that, even things like Breeden's Orchard on the other side of Mount Juliet, as I say, place like that picks, your apples and your peaches, that is a draw. That is something that not everybody sees where they're from. And again, goes back to culture. I can, somebody comes in from a large city, and I say, well, here, you can go pick strawberries right here, right off the thing. You can pick peaches right here. You can go get fresh farm-raised beef right here, and things. That's still a cultural thing. That's what's changing, and kind of adding to the visitor spending pot. And that is still tourism. That is still visitor spending. It goes back, like I said, tourism is not, it doesn't have to be to that level that you're talking about, that everyone's worried about. They think it's either nothing or it's downtown Broadway, Nashville for tourism. No, there's a fantastic sweet spot that 95% of the 95 counties in Tennessee live in. And that's what it is. You take Davidson County out, you take Shelby County out with Memphis, you take Sevier County out with Gatlinburg, and maybe Knox County out with Knoxville, depending on football season or not. And the rest of us live in that great shops to shop at, great places to dine at, some outdoor activities, some above community local events going on, Brewers Fest, things like that to go to, and that's the sweet spot that we're living in, and it's obviously working. We're the 10th ranked state in the country on visitor spending.
Right. So what? Again, shameless marketing guy. What, in your opinion, is Wilson County known for? Like everybody becomes known for something. So what are we known for?
That's I get asked that, and it's so tough to hammer it down to a couple things. Wilson County, like I say, I am the tourism rep over Wilson County. So in that, we have Mount Juliet, we have Lebanon, and Watertown are the three main cities. And the best thing about that is it's almost, if you didn't realize that these three cities were in the same county, you would not even think they were in the same state sometimes. That's just what they offer. Lebanon is the historic town. Lebanon has the historic downtown area with all the revitalization of the shops. You go into the boutiques, you go into the brewery, the restaurants, and shopping. It's it's the exposed brick. It's all the it's the wow kind of factor of that. You go into Mount Juliet, and that's more of the new growth. Some of the nicer hotels are there. Things like the Christmas place, shopping, major shopping, things like that. And then Watertown, you do the whole comparing it to a Mayberry town. It's just a cool little laid back town. It's amazing if you really start doing research and look into Watertown. The number of very well known artists that live there to this day, and the amount of film and television that is done in and around Watertown. It will absolutely blow your mind. We're working on a dedicated page on our shop that just on our website rather that it just shows the music videos, the television shows, and everything. So it's a lot of it's a cool, quaint downtown, but you can go in there like, wait a minute, that was where I remember a Garth Brooks video being shot right here under this. I see. So as far as what we're known for, I mean, all of that, the outside, the downtown areas, the camping, the hiking, Nashville Super Speedway, it's a NASCAR weekend. We now have Music City Grand Prix, which moved from downtown Nashville out here with the IndyCar racing. So major motorsports events out there.
Did you brought up a point, and it gave me a little brain, I call it brain farts. So I used to produce, first half of my career, I produced commercials and film and stuff like that. So I had relationships with a lot of the film commissions around the country. I'm closest with the one in New York State because I did so much work with them. Knowing what I know, tourism works alongside film commission. So I imagine you do the same here. That's one of your partner relationships, yes?
Yes. I'll work with them. Sometimes I'll be, admittedly, they kind of try to sneak in and get stuff done. But, we're definitely working on more outreach to get an idea of, and I'm not even necessarily worried about when they're going to be here type situation. It's, hey, we'd like to know where you're shooting, when you're shooting, and then afterwards, let the world know, hey, you like this show. Well, it was filmed right here, and come see it, things like that.
Well, I can neither confirm or deny my following statement, but sometimes they try to sneak in because they'll have a big name, and they're trying to protect that person, and they don't want a big crowd because it's really difficult to actually get the shooting done when you also have to navigate the crowds, and it becomes a real traffic issue. But the other side of it is sometimes they're just trying to get around all the permit fees and all that kind of stuff. But again, I can neither confirm nor deny the following. So yeah, I get it. I totally understand. Interesting. I did not know that about Watertown. Well, I just saw they were shooting in downtown Lebanon just last week.
They were. It was a commercial. I actually spoke with that gentleman. I had actually saw him in downtown Lebanon and got to talk to him when I was down there. They were shooting a commercial, and it's one of several that are planned in the area coming up. They're moving this way from Williamson County, Franklin area, and doing more out here now.
Yeah, gotcha. So I was around there a lot those few days, and I have to say they did a great job. I mean, I know people were probably upset because they were in the circle and people couldn't park and stuff, but they really navigated that very effectively, and the main traffic flow was still functional because I have seen crews literally shut down a town. Like no in, no out. I've been the producer that did that. I locked up Park Avenue at lunchtime one day. Yeah, and if you're listening and you happen to have been in that mess, I'm sorry. It was a really big project, though. I know, and it happens. So that it's a lot easier now because you don't have to have people don't shoot film anymore. It's digital, so there's less crew, there's less people, but you still need the shot to be what it needs to be. So I can't imagine. I'm sure you get the phone calls once in a while because they assume it's a tourism problem. Why are these people here in my backyard, Jason?
Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? I mean, that's we get more of the Facebook comments than the phone calls anymore because that's kind of the age we're living in. But it's like, what's this all about?
Which is even worse because it's much harder to navigate. I don't like it, honestly. Yeah, even from a PR perspective, it's really difficult. Okay, so let's get you back on track. That's my fault. In the title, when I introduced you, I said the term CVB. And I actually had to go and look it up. Being quite honest, I thought it was like an accreditation, and it kind of is. It is defined as the Convention and Visitors Bureau, for the record. So when I looked up what that really meant, one of the big things was talking about hotels. So I know we kind of danced around hotels. You mentioned it a few times, but I'd like you to speak into it very intentionally because hotels are a big part of tourism and economic impact as well.
For sure. I mean, the hotel motel tax that we get, that's what funds our department, as well as helping fund several other things in the county. So we get a portion of the hotel motel tax that's collected. No, like I said, with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and there are some out there in the different variations of that it's almost like a chamber where it's a membership driven kind of thing. There's no dues, there's no memberships for our department in the way it's set up. So like I say, our funding comes from hotel motel tax. But in that, again, it goes back to what I said earlier about working as a concierge for some of these event planners that are coming in to find them the right fit on hotels and speaking with hotels. And then going out into, again, go back to Gail Hellam with the Farm Bureau Expo Center. We will go to basically meeting planner conventions, more or less. And it's where we will meet with folks, and they may be with Helms Briscoe or something, and they may have 9 or 10 meetings in the next 3 years. We need to find a place for them and things like that. So we'll go and kind of court them. She has the location. She has the fantastic location. I have the catalog of hotels to use. So it's a little bit of trying to build that relationship and help bolster the occupancy levels of our hotels, which again, comes back to us.
On that, I know that when I first got here, COVID prevented me from really being a tourist and going downtown and hanging out and everything. But now I'm here long enough that I don't want to have to go downtown all the time just because of traffic. Traffic is tough getting downtown, just like in any major city. So I would love to see more entertainment in Wilson County, in areas outside of just having to be downtown. And I know that's a powder keg, but how cool would it be if you could, and I'm not talking about the really big stuff, but I know that the mayor of this county and I were talking one day about that. And he's like, I said, it would be really cool to get like some of these big comics. Like I love Tim Hawkins, Christian comedian, brings a great audience. Does people like that? Certain kind of that. It's not really this gigantic 30,000 capacity stadium. Doesn't have to be. It could be 5,000. And those kind of people would come to that, and it's manageable. It helps traffic flows, not that impacted by it. And one of the challenges, and of course, if you know Mayor Hutto, he was like, yeah, well, do you know him? Just bring him. And I'm like, that's great. And the challenge with that is we don't have the destination. What we could, the Expo Center could be converted to do some of that stuff, but it doesn't have the hotels are too far away. They're 10 minutes or a 5-minute drive. Well, that's fine, but you want them like on site. You want them right there, because anybody of any kind of a name or stature, they need to get whisked away. They need to be able to have their private time. They don't want to have to schlep around, the way they have. So it would stand to have a hotel on those grounds if that was possible. And I know a lot of people whisper about it and talk about it. I'm from New York. I just speak more openly. In your opinion, don't talk about that issue because I don't want you to get in trouble. But do you think that we need more hotels within the county? Some people say we have too many.
Well, I can tell you based on our occupancy rates compared to other counties, other areas, what we're looking at, we don't have too many. Too many would mean that too many would mean the ones we have are struggling. None of them are struggling.
Right.
There was a dip, a late summer dip. We're in a time where there's a little bit of consumer confidence and everything, so there was a little bit of dip in occupancy. That was what it was across the board, all across.
You're talking about right now,
right?
Like this past. Mm-hmm.
So that's what that is. So no, I don't think it's a question of having too many. I don't think we have. I would like to see some more higher end hotels. I would like to see some more of the 4-star hotels, and I would definitely like to see hotels in some more strategic locations.
Right.
They're getting there, but and like you said, I don't care to, and I will definitely speak to it as far as being out by the Expo Center. Yes, that would be beneficial in a big way. It's just, I think it's a matter of someone being the first one out there and seeing the success that you will have being it out there.
Right. I feel that way about restaurants. I want to see higher quality restaurants, higher end. I'll pay more if it's better food. Nothing against the franchises and some of the smaller places that are here, but I'm getting tired of franchise food. I find myself spending more money in the supermarket and cooking a lot more often just because, or I have to travel to go to the restaurant I want to go to. And that usually sends me downtown, and y'all know how I feel about that. And it's great. It's a great destination. It's just,
Well, James, here's the deal. The first date of economic development marriage is a visitor. So like I said before, we're bringing the visitors. Those are the ones that, as I said before, will take that initial step to go to the new higher end restaurant, because you know how it is. When you're home on a day-to-day basis and you go out to eat, it's usually the same old, same old. But if you're on vacation, you're going to go out to eat. I'm going to go try that place. And those are the places you try. And those are the things that, me as someone living here sees a parking lot full. Well, that must be pretty good. Let's try it out. And then it just snowballs and now becomes everyone's favorite place. And then that place is successful and there's another place opening up.
If you had your druthers, what we talked about, higher quality hotels, more restaurants, what else would you want to see here if in the perfect scenario?
Well, and like I say, there are some rumblings and talks of things out there. I think if you look at what we have as a whole to offer for sports facilities, I would like to see more of that. I think sports tourism is something that we could definitely dig in a little deeper on. We're doing very well on the motorsports side of things, and we're doing pretty well on the agritourism side of things. But our sports tourism, getting some more playing fields of some kind. And I know that, Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell, they're working on the sports facility with soccer, but definitely see some more, football, baseball, mixed use fields. Because it is crazy. You put, 8 or 10 fields down, baseball or softball fields, and what that brings in. Having twin 10-year-old boys and kind of touching into that whole travel baseball thing a little bit, there's a lot of income to be had. A lot of tax dollars.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Even when I first got here, that was one of the challenges I saw. So I coached volleyball for years. I used to play competitively. And when you coach travel, you're always traveling somewhere. You're going to a destination. I've been all over the country for travel, and here we don't have anything that can hold the bigger events. We can't host a 50 court tournament like some cities can. And that would be, so you talked about a lot about outdoor. So the fields, even getting the fields is a challenge. I can't imagine how long it's going to take us to get something where we can host 50 volleyball courts or basketball courts or things that are indoor sports. But I know when it comes, hotels fill up. I mean, in mass. People come in droves because we're talking about thousands of people that just come to watch, and then the amount of teams that come. There's 8 to 10 to 12 kids on a team, so they all come in droves, and the amount of tourism dollars that increase in that long weekend is really impactful, and we just don't have that here at all.
No. Well, we get it right now. We will get overflow from Rutherford County, Murfreesboro on their sports tournaments. And you're looking at 32 miles away.
Right.
In another county.
Well, even that one that they were building, I think that fell through because of financing or something.
It did.
Which is terrible because that would have really been a game changer for them. So that's really good stuff. What were your thoughts? You didn't speak into entertainment. What did you think about that? Are you shying away from that question?
No. I think it's great. I think, here again, it's the same as tourism. People, when you say that, they shun away because you think we're going to put a Tootsie's right next to, a Tootsie's park, honky tonk right next to somebody's church or school type thing. And it's not going to be that way. I think there's a few folks that are doing some great things in Wilson County and Lebanon to, hopefully, if things go well, get some more live stages in that aspect. I think it's definitely an untapped thing that would help. Let's face it. You can come to Nashville, or you can come, say you're coming to Nashville, but instead of turning left to go to Nashville to stay, you're going to turn right and go to Wilson County to stay. You're going to pay a third of the cost for a hotel room. You're not going to pay for your parking. So you can stay here, catch an Uber there and back, and still have your extra money to buy your $14 drink at Tootsie's or whatever you want, So, there's still, financially, it makes more sense. I understand you're not down in the hustle and bustle. It's a quick down. So to be able to take some of what folks are going to Nashville for, let me say that again, some of what they're going to Nashville for. I'm not expecting bachelorette parties and pedal taverns to happen in downtown Lebanon, but I'm saying some of the music and some of that feel, some of that Nashville feel, and bring it out here. Absolutely. I think it would be an absolute win.
Yeah, I think there's a really beautiful town here over in Williamson County. If you're listening and you don't know, called Franklin. It's real pretty, and I think they have that figured out. They do a really good job at driving that kind of traffic of what you're talking about. And outside looking in, because I'll be an outsider for probably 50 years. It looks like we're heading in that direction. It looks like that's what we're striving for. So I think the vision that you're casting is probably spot on, and we just have to get there. So it's a good point. I have a big burning question. We've covered most of my hots. I just if I don't do a curveball, who would I be? Let's talk about the challenges you face as a tourism director. What are they?
Well, I think I kind of touched on them a little bit. Is dealing with, I don't want to say dealing with, because that kind of sounds derogatory, but working with some of the commissioners, some of the stakeholders, some of those decision makers, and helping them to move along on the vision, to getting them to go not from 0 to 60, but let's put our foot on the gas a little bit. Let's get up to about 35. Let's see that there is movement happening. Nashville as a whole, it's exploding. So do you want to be the one part on the east that's not exploding as well? Because it's just going to go around. We're in a situation right now with Sumner County, which is more northwest of us, Nashville, where they're They're really getting conservative on their spending, cutting back on a lot of stuff with tourism and things like that. And you won't see it today, and you won't see it tomorrow, but 5 years from now, there's going to be a stunted growth in that aspect. And I think we need to have that 5 year, 10 year, 15 year vision looking at this, and that starts with doing the things we're doing today and doing them more and doing them better. Don't just have the I'm going to bury the money in the coffee can in the front yard mentality. Let's reinvest. We're in a fantastic situation in this county with the growth that we're in to be able to reinvest some of the money in places that we need to, and we are for the most part. Our schools, building new schools, building new firehouses. So the emergency services are getting well. That also comes with building tourism. That comes with increasing your marketing, increasing your awareness of the county to get the word out about that. Because again, that's going to drive the new hotels and the new restaurants and the new attractions and all the big things that come that make the quality of life within the county fantastic. You can grow and you can drop in 2,000 new homes in an area. That's great. But eventually, those folks that are living in those 2,000 new homes are going to do exactly what you did and what you're talking about. I want something nice to eat. I've got to head to Nashville. I've got to head to Franklin. I've got to head to Murphyville. I've got to go somewhere else and spend my money and give them tax money where we don't have it in our own backyard. So you're leaving your county, you're going to spend your money, and then you're coming back into your county and then saying, well, we need this for our schools, and those roads are looking bad, and this and there. So stay in your county and enjoy it, and that's what we need is to have things to have folks stay in their county for.
Right. That's what I would look for being newer here. I would love to see certain things here that aren't here that make me have to go out of county, which keeps my money right in my backyard. But I want to reiterate something you just said, that if you're listening and you're like, oh, he doesn't know, that's just his opinion. It's really not, because I see the other side of the table outside in. Like, I've marketed some of these companies that would want to be here or not want to be here, and they look for certain key factors as a destination. And some of the things that Jason is speaking into are exactly the things that they want. And if they don't see that, they will not put their entity here. They pick another area. Same reason. So I'm an Apple user from way back, and no, they're not paying me to say that. I mean, I've been probably almost 40 years. And loyal to a fault, really loyal. And I can't throw a rock and hit an Apple store anywhere near here. I have to go like an hour away, and that's ridiculous. Well, they're not coming here because they look at the economic impact and they think, well, the money's just not there, but it is there. It's just that they don't see it because statistically, they're not seeing exactly what Jason is talking about. So it is a problem. And if we don't address the problem, to your point, like you're talking about Sumner County, you're right. I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I've been the one since I got here saying if you don't know the area, there's like a loop around Wilson County called 840. And you really don't have to go through the county if you don't want to. You can go from Rutherford County, which is east of us, over to Williamson or Davidson, which is west of us, and literally go right around us. And that's what will happen. I think it's already happening. We're not a destination, and we need to be a destination. And that's not to put it all on Jason, but I know you have your own battles, and and you're right. People have to, well, I don't want Tootsie's next door. And that's an excellent point. I don't want Tootsie's next door to me either, but that just comes down to communication and educating people. And this is what it could look like. I think we have a great opportunity to handpick what we want here and what we don't want here, and if you get people of like mind to put them in the same room, and yes, that's awesome, as long as it's not this, and not that I can do your job, I'm just marketing, but I understand if you put them here, I can definitely market the snot out of it.
Absolutely. And like I said, there are a few places that are working towards it. even some of our breweries around and things like that with music and all. So we're tiptoeing into it for sure. I would think this time next year, I would say we would hopefully find at least a couple locations for Tennessee Songwriter Nights and things like that.
That would be very cool. How long is the Ryman here? I mean, the Ryman's history is like a legacy.
Yeah.
And if you think like 30 years ago in Nashville, it wasn't what it is today, but the Ryman was here a lot longer than that.
Ryman's been
like even downtown Lebanon, the Capitol Theater, beautiful theater, with a lot of history. I mean, it's not as big; it can't handle the big crowds like we're talking about. But the intimacy there is just amazing, and the people that have come through there over the years. I don't know. I think we have to open our minds a little bit if we want to grow as a county.
And speaking to that, James, you're talking about the Capitol Theater. I spoke with the lady. She runs Audience of One. It's like the theater out there. It will blow your mind the number of folks that come through there in some production of something that you will see them. I mean, it's like Major League Baseball. I contribute to that. It's the same way as Major League. These folks that are playing here, you're going to see them off Broadway or Broadway. So we've had Tony Award winners play out there at the Capitol Theater. But here's the problem, James, and I'm as guilty of it. I was more guilty of it before I got into this role. When I first took the role, I put out an initiative to, like I say, the commissioners, and it was kind of part of the hiring process of do a project of some sort, and it was a tour your own backyard. That was the whole initiative, and the whole project. I said was tour your own backyard, because from living here and stuff, we get so blinded. We put our blinders on and we drive past some of the greatest things that people are driving across the country to come see, but we don't think about it. It's just, that's just the Cedars of Lebanon Park down there. It's, okay, well, it's just the Cedars. When was the last time you were down there? I have called folks out. Oh, that's just Cedars. When was the last time you were down there? Oh man, it's probably been 15 years. Go see it. There's amazing hiking trails. There's amazing, a nature center. There's great camping. So we get blind to what's in our own backyard. So we don't see the value in it that other people that are visiting to come here see.
That is an excellent point. And I'm a victim of that too. We want, it's out there. That new shiny thing is over there. It's not here. You're right. We don't, that there's so much history here too. The amount of, if you're a history buff with battles and all that kind of thing. I mean, Tennessee is rich with, you can't walk up a road without finding there was a battle there or something. Some of it's pretty famous, some of it's not, but it's pretty cool if you like that kind of stuff. So we do have a lot of history here. You're right. We just
need to, educate that we don't have to go somewhere to go somewhere. That's what it kind of boils down to.
All right, I'll give you my confession. I'm giving this one to you. It's my gift today. I literally every single day drive by Breeden Orchard, because you mentioned them earlier, every day to get to my office, because it's my shortcut down Beckwith Road, and I think I've been there once in 5 years. So I'm going. I'll be there probably this weekend. So if you'll see me at some point. Call me out on it if you don't see me. But I'm going. Probably go Saturday just for the record.
Well, if you go,
you're right.
Get my wife Christy. There's some oils over there. I think there's a Tuscan oil blend that she really loves. She's getting low, so pick me up some, and I'll Venmo you.
All right. Okay. Is it a type? Is it a blend, or is there a name to it, or I don't get the wrong one?
What is it? I can't remember the name. She's a local, because they've got the orchard, and then within it they've got like a local. It's an indoor, like a building, a stand, and it's all Southern Olive is the brand. And so it's all kinds of things. Local honeys and local crafts and artisan goods.
They do soap as well, right? Yeah, because they just started a brick and mortar not long ago over on Mount Juliet Road, which you talk about commerce, you talk about how one thing can grow to another. they're true entrepreneurs. They also, I won't say it out loud because they may not want me to, but they own a popular comedy club in Nashville that I found out about, which I'm actually going to ask them about, because in my next life, I'm going to be a stand-up comic. I'm going to start saying it out loud because it will happen.
Speak it into existence, Jay. Speak it into existence, brother.
I am. It's coming. You watch. I don't care if I crash or, but it'll be on my bucket list. That's for the record. So I finished my coffee, and we are beyond time. But I just want to make sure we covered the big overview picture of tourism. Is there anything we did not talk about today that you'd like to address?
No, I think we touched it all. Commissioner Zell, which is our state tourism commissioner, the Tennessee Department of Tourism, his mantra for the last several years, and it's been one I think we've all picked up and kind of carried the torch on, is tourism is real money. It is a real industry. It makes a real economic impact on the industry. No, you don't see the distribution centers, and you don't see the 200-acre field of corn. So you don't see the distribution, and you see the agriculture. You don't see tourism, but it's there. Side note, I'll give you a prime example. There was Hot Rod Power Tour came out to the Nashville Super Speedway a couple months ago. It was I think it was about a week or two before the NASCAR race, so about mid-June. In the Hot Rod Power Tour, it's all the lowered, chopped C10 old Chevrolets and the old Camaros and just the rat rods. So cars that you will recognize as being out of the ordinary cars, right? They were in town just overnight because it's a power tour. They stop at Bowling Green, they stop in Lebanon here, they kind of tour through. The next morning that they were here on a Tuesday. So Wednesday morning, I was driving into work. I drove past every restaurant that were serving breakfast at the time. I drove by 4 or 5 hotels. You could look in the parking lot and you could see 6 to 8 of those cars in every one of those places. So on a day-to-day basis, you don't see the tourists. You don't see the visitors. They're driving a Toyota Highlander. They're driving, whatever. So you don't see them. But if we could tag tourists and tag visitors like that, because they were tagged in hot rods and specific cars, you could physically see the impact that they're making in an area. And I thought that was a fantastic thing that morning, because it's like, there's my argument of why this is something, because every business had, an economic impact happening.
I tend to look at license plates. It's just a thing I do. And I watch how many people are not from here and where they're coming from. And you can tell by the driving usually, but that's a good point. Well, thank you so much, Jason. This was very insightful today. I knew it would be. If you're listening, I hope it really opened your eyes a little bit to what tourism is really about. Jason, is there a way, if somebody wanted to ask you questions or find out more information, what's the best way to contact you?
Man, you can just, visit wilco.com is our website. Follow us on Facebook, Wilson County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Give me a call at the office. I don't care. But like I said, all the contacts are on our website. Reach out to us.
Yeah.
Tourism at wilsoncountytn.gov gets it to us. So many avenues to reach out to us.
The amount of things that are happening here that you don't know about is crazy. And I think, do you list all that on the site? I don't even know.
So we have the major events listed on our website, and that's updated pretty frequently. But then Brittany, she's my marketing specialist. Every Monday, she'll do a what's happening in Wilco thing on Facebook. And that's why I say if you go on Facebook and follow us, that breaks it down to, there's a Sip and Strokes paint night somewhere, and there's a comedy night at Cedar City Brewery Company and stuff. So that breaks it down even more. And it's amazing. She fills up every week. It surprises me when I see it. When she posts it, I'm like, I didn't know all this was even going on.
Right. Does Cedar City have an open mic? I'm just asking for a friend.
I'll check into that for you. I'll be sure to.
I'll find it. it's interesting. Like if you live here, my point is, if you live here, how do you get involved with here? Because that's the thing I'm going to walk away with today is like, that's a challenge, is to experience your own backyard, like be a part of, the community and get involved. And you're right. So thank you for sharing that. Well, thank you very much for being on today, Jason. I appreciate your time greatly. We're going to wrap up, and I hope this was something that was insightful to you and that you learned a little something more about tourism and you understand its impact. Like Jason said, please reach out to Wilco, ask questions, find out more information. You can always use Marketing Perspective, ask some questions there if you need it. We'll make sure you get answers. Please share the show if you like listening, if you learned something. If you're a business owner, which is most of our listenership, tourism is important. And I think you're seeing that a little bit more now, how it impacts you. And because we are in a situation, Jason, the way you said it was, I loved, consumer confidence is down right this second. And it's something that will come back. It always does historically. It's probably sooner than later this time. You heard it here first. But we are going to go through something right now. Most people are in it. Just stay strong and make sure you're marketing yourself correctly. And please reach out and ask, not soliciting, just ask questions. We're happy to give answers. We're happy to point you in the right direction if you need it, genuinely. Because if we work together, we get through stuff. When you isolate yourself, it's biblical. I don't want to preach, but anywhere where two or more gathered, right? You want to be able to come together and work together. Don't work in a silo on your own. Make sure that you're speaking to somebody else professionally. Circle yourself with consultants that can really speak life into your business to help you to get through this time. I hate what I've been in. My company's been around for 20 years. And my biggest pet peeve is watching people I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I'm going to save $5. It's a mistake to do that because you will not navigate this kind of economy on your own. You need help. Put people around you that are going to help you to be better. And tourism is a big part of it. Ask questions. Ask maybe there's something in your business that can help. Maybe tourism can kind of help you. Maybe it's open a door. Maybe you're not on their list of all destination places, and you should be. It's a question to ask. These are the kind of things that I hope that the Marketing Perspective does for you. Please keep listening, keep learning, keep growing your business. Thanks so much for listening today, and we will see you next time.